Very well. We are going to pick up now. We can still chat, obviously. Though I will, I'll present, I'll check chat, present, check chat. Oh, no music, and it was just car sounds? Oh, I'm sorry, it was awkward. Could you listen to something on your phone? Or I guess it's a little late for that now, but hey, you know what? You're back home, and hopefully if you ever have to travel similarly again, you'll have your old tape Walkman with you, and you'll put on your big old earphones with the not that 3.5 millimeter micro jack, right? We're talking the biggin. Old Port Media, the variant magic missile is probably one of my favorite things in the book. It has a small element of save or suck, but it's so interesting in how it works. Next time I travel, it'll be me driving and playing music. Assert dominance. You may be a sheep, but you don't have to be sheepish. Now, you may recognize this as the Dungeon Master's Guide. If you did, congratulations, and if you didn't, you're gonna have to take my word for it. This is nothing sheepish about you. We are going to go to, hey, look at this, creating non-player characters, NPCs. That's who we are and what we do. This is exactly what we want. Now, there's going to be one extra step to this NPC. And this is going to be... Oh, you saw something about villains. There's stuff there. Oh, I think I went too far. Because I want to show you all that when you go to create a story like what we're going to be doing later, we're not going to go through all of the charts that are here, but you can see there are prompts for side quests and twists, moral quandaries, framing events. And when we create our villain, we're going to be drawing on a chart that is going to give us a baseline of our adventure villain. Now, the NPC that we're going to be creating is going to be the adventure patron. In the context of we have this party of monstrous characters that are going to be sent out to go find help to bring back to solve the problems of their land. We can roll an extra detail like this. So if we come down here and we go to Adventure Patron, we can bring up our dice roller, which in this case, I'm going to minimize this and move over to the side. I don't have a name for this character just yet. Though what kind of an NPC is going to set the party on the adventure? I'm going to roll a d20 and we're going to find out. In 11, a respected elder. Now, in the society that these adventures are from, it is a matriarchy, a matriarchal monarchy, actually. And so this could end up being an old wise woman or someone's mother or grandmother that has some influence in town and sends them out because they have some knowledge of things that could exist. And you know, I have a good character in mind for that, who is our orc. Hey, Hypnotic Gamer, thank you so much. Welcome. It's great to see you here. I hope you're doing well. You're full of energy. You had a good week. But yeah, 5 months. Hey, and then one more Hypnotic Gamer, your queso is going to go to a SalsaCon queso and get a nice, spicy orange color to it. But yeah, Hypnotic Gamer, you're here right as we're beginning the crunchy part of our workshop. We didn't establish that orc. Details like that are actually going to come out in the adventure synopsis we're creating tonight. So you didn't miss something like that. Oh well, congratulations on that, Hypnotic Gamer. Cheers to you. And here, I'll even put an emote here. Doot doot doot. So, well, then it sounds like things are going in your direction. And so thank you for coming here and letting us, sharing in your joy and your happiness. As a community, this is what we do. There are times when we grieve and we talk about very, very serious issues, such as Pouty Lips coming in and discussing how a member of his D&D group of friends ended up hanging himself that earlier that day, and we also get we get through this as a group. And for those of you who have successes, you have a promotion at work, you get engaged, or other news, something good happens. We're not fair weather friends. We go through the highs and lows. You're gonna lurk and listen. You're gonna play some game for a while, but I'm trying to... Oh wait, but if I try it during the day, my computer crashes from the heat. Oh my. Well, so what you do, Bubonic One, is you take some ice cubes and you put them on the vents of your computer, and then as the heat from the computer melts the ice, the cold water drips down and cools off your circuitry. Don't do that. Oh, Sheeps. Oh, Sheeps is nefarious. You just had to replace an entire motherboard from Asus. Well, fortunately, though, Hypnotic Gamer, that's, doing hardware stuff like that, or maybe even software, that's right up your alley, isn't it? That is definitely in your skill set. Maddie's top IT. Yep, there we go. Dry ice, because when dry ice melts, it's dry. You're a software specialist? Okay. Well then, hey, hopefully you learned something new. Orc is saying it's a recipe for disaster. Alright, now for things like occupation and history, I'm going to come back to this because there's information not on this worksheet that we can go and fill in, but I don't always want to have it standard for an NPC. And you'll see why. Bear with me. Let's... creating... There we go. Let's now begin to flesh out an NPC. And you can say you're very well within your rights to do so. Well, how can we give an NPC an appearance if we don't even know who we're dealing with? Is it, we have a respected elder, but is this elder a goblin? Is he or she a wizard? That won't matter. Whether we have a goblin or a wizard or a sailor, we're talking race, class, or background. Because that person's still going to have this appearance. And I don't want to worry about those details just yet. Because I find that it locks in a lot of our... perceptions. Or it can help confirm some biases we all naturally have. If we start thinking about things in terms of baseline, race, class, or background, especially because those are the three legs of the stool of a character that the character sits on in 5th Ed. So we need a D20 roll for some sort of a defining appearance of this NPC that they're going to have no matter anything else that they have going on. As well, we're going to roll 2d6, And I'm not looking for scores. Many NPCs, and realize this, many NPCs don't need detailed stat sheets. As long as you have a basic idea of how to present an NPC, you don't need nuance. D20, we rolled a 1, and now we're going to roll 2d6. 4 and 1. So we have 1, 4, and 1. Now we're going to give this person a talent, a mannerism, and give them a quirk about interacting with people. So we're going to roll 2d20, 8, 6, and then a d12. 8, 6, 5. Now, as far as useful knowledge, this is something that you know as the Dungeon Master. And if you're creating this sheet for your reference in presenting the NPC to the players, you could have this hidden behind a DC of some sort of social interaction, or you make a note saying that this character will talk about this information after a certain topic has been brought up with no dice rolls, or a certain milestone has been reached in the story. Now, just as characters, as player characters, have ideals, bonds, and flaws, so too do NPCs. Now, the way you could determine that is going to be a little bit different. You still can give them a background and roll personality traits and such that way. And in fact, we're going to save that for last for an even more fleshed out NPC than just sort of one that you can quickly generate. You know, if I'm not here talking as much as I am, we could get through this worksheet in, 5 minutes and just pound out NPCs to fill a marketplace or to fill a royal court. Whatever we need. And that's the beauty of this system. Our ideal is going to be based on a 2d6 roll, and then we're going to roll a 10 and a 12 for a bond and a flaw. 2d6, so 6, 1, 7, 10. Six, 1, 7, and 10. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, because I'm going to want to make one more NPC to show you how quickly this can go. And we can use this NPC in a way that is, well, we're going to get there. This NPC, we're going into it with no preconceived notions, other than this is the slot this person's going to fill is the quest giver. Oldport says, I'm building a new PC considering a liquid nitro loop. Whoa, what, are you making a supercomputer? If you need liquid nitrogen, my goodness. Oh, so yours, well, you're super casual right now then, Hypnotic Gamer. Someone out there with selective hearing is going to be like, oh, an iced computer? Not a bad idea. Yeah, please don't put ice on your computer, everyone. Black Wolf, you've been a computer. Oh, yeah, Black Wolf, you're doing some computer work last week you're talking about. Now that we have our placeholders, we're going to build the personality of this NPC. And we'll end up adding a couple extra details, don't worry. Right now, though, we have the concept. I want the concept of the NPC, and we'll worry about the outer shell or some other aspects that will refine this concept later. We have Respected Elder. The NPC appearance, we rolled a 1. Distinctive jewelry, earrings, necklace, circlet, bracelets. If this is, again, like a grandmother, very matriarchal, where, you know, we honor our mothers and grandmothers, you know, it is a female-centric culture. We could now build off of this one prompt, off of these 2 words, we can start building cultural edifices. Maybe the number of bracelets that are worn can represent your age and or your station in this society. There's so much we can do with this. And of course, having distinctive jewelry, even for this NPC, even if other grandmothers wear 3 gold bracelets, something is distinctive about this set of jewelry to set this character apart and make this NPC memorable to your NPCs or to your PCs as a dungeon master, DM. Well, Orc, you're on an interesting life adventure of learning through a lot of stuff. I mean, you found yourself in a metal band. You've been mining. You've been, you know, a university student and a sports player, and you've done a lot in your life here. So you know what? What is next for Orc? Do we have an Orcish IT guru? Yeah, it doesn't have to be a grandma. I simply want to get the expression across that we have this kind of a system that also has developed over the course of random rolls. Yet look, if we take steps one at a time, how organic all of this randomness can still grow into to make something cohesive and expansive and natural. And because we're understanding things one piece at a time, it's not coming out as contrived, or it's not coming out as forced or rushed, and it allows us to make better decisions as dungeon masters. So we did build this society, and you know what? I didn't think about this interaction, though given the world, or the area, or whatever, in which this is happening, an organic extension of these circumstances would be this. And you can present it as such, and it all makes sense. So was the trade mining? Because if I recall correctly, you were driving like a huge overland truck or something for mines. Now the abilities this NPC has, and this simply says high and low. High could be 14 as a score. High could be 10. And low can be 8. If everything else is 10, or something is even 11, and a low is 9, we still have highs and lows. This is to give us a general idea of what the character might be good at doing without needing to get into the minutia of daggers or bow use or long sword proficiencies and all this. So this character's ability score that's high is intelligence. Low is number 1, is strength. So having a high intelligence usually indicates that this person is studious, learned, and inquisitive. A low strength, someone who's feeble or scrawny. And those are suggestions. We could take that however we'd like. There is a talent that this NPC has, and that talent we rolled is number 8. Great at one game. In fact, this could be extra uncanny if what I remember is correct. And yes, Samantha the Domain is our orc. If you remember, we're talking about having an elderly matron that would send them on the adventure. Well, last night, it so happens that the normal PHB race city that they're going to go to for help, you know, humans, or we didn't roll humans, but if you get what I'm saying, had this half-orc population. And it was indicated at some earlier point in time, there were pilgrims or explorers or frontiersmen who traveled out to the Monstrous lands, but something happened and they didn't survive, and there's some ruins that are there. So Samantha's grandmother could end up being the quest giver. Because there's this racial link. Maybe, secretly they are descended from those frontiersmen and sort of incorporated themselves into the local monstrous population. They may not be the only orcs, but they could be a prominent family in some way. And so we had, as being a part of this mercenary veteran, despite her young age, because orcs toughen up very quick, she gets proficiency in a gaming set. And if we're combining this with having a matriarchy, the aunt, the grandmother, or just someone who is an adoptive character or a foster character in some way, perhaps was teaching Samantha tactics and patience through this game. And how fun is this that we come full circle, and through sheer happenstance, through this talent, this NPC is great at one game. And I would imagine that game is the same that the PC has. And what's nice about this is your player character brought this character sheet to you as the dungeon master and said, hey, can you look this over? And I'm looking for ideas. What game might I be good at? Yeah, let's sit down and kind of fiddle with it and figure out and see what it is. Hello, we have an awesome connection now. And now this NPC is even more endearing to one of the 5 characters, if not more. Because it doesn't even have to just be an orc. You know, we could have someone, especially with a high intelligence, this could be someone else who just understands the history and knows that folk like Samantha are descendants from these, from these others. And while mechanically in the player's handbook we call them half-orcs, that could be, the half-orcs are just a race themselves. They're not half anything. They're whole, whatever you'd want to call them. We could call them, so I see, I see Orc with this last comment here. The descendants were smorks. Why not? It's your world, you make up names. And so smorks, were, this more balanced race. And the pilgrims who came over were a hardier bunch. And after having to survive, maybe they have adaptive bodies because they're so strong, they grow up quickly, they reproduce quickly because of this shorter lifespan. They burn hotter and brighter, but they don't last as long. And so as the smork descendants continued to just make more and more, they quickly adapted to this new monstrous environment. And now an orc, as we know it as players, as dungeon masters, as whomever, is the derivative from half-orcs that were a more, I guess a more balanced. I don't want to say balanced. That's not the correct. That's not the correct term. But if you get what I'm saying, they've changed slightly to adapt. So mechanically, yes, we're referring to orcs and half-orcs instead of smorks and orcs. Small orcs are smorks, says Black Wolf. Oh, okay. I think you were talking about learning how to weld, Orc. I'm sorry that I forgot about that. Your cousin, knowing I was doing welding and am a big history buff, specifically in World War II time period, bought me a welding shield decorated with World War II style pinup art. That's cool, Orc. As long as it's not too risque, would you be willing to share a picture of that? I think that'd be fun. And let's not forget morks either. That's right. We need medium sized. And then of course you have the very fancy. For the large size, you have the Legorks. They're kind of the French Canadian version of orcs. Oh, and by the way, for everyone out there too, for all of the life adventures Orc has been on, Orc can also speak French and English. And was there a third language that you were working on too, Orc? Clearly you're a bard. Hey, and you're in a rock band. You are a bard. Congratulations. Hey, yeah, that's right, Crow. You are up in Canada. So salute to you. We're making connections. Yeah, I love it. And by the way, if I ever reference a region or a language or anything, it's never in a derogatory fashion, because I've done my fair share of traveling and in language study and culture study. But here, you know, with the L apostrophe, the Legork, I hope the humor showed through. Now, what is this character's mannerism? We rolled a 20-sided die and we ended up with a 6. This character speaks loudly. So, presumably she. Doesn't have to be a she. It can be. It's our NPC. We're DMs. We could make these decisions. This person speaks loudly. I'll save your ears and not give an example because I think you can understand what loud speaking. However, as the DM, when this NPC speaks, raise the volume of your voice. Maybe speak with an accent. Okay, Orc. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I'll take a look at that during the break then. Now, how does this NPC interact with others? Others is a broad term. Is others the party members? All of them? Some of them? Or is this with... The party's great. Everyone loves the party, or he or she loves the party members. But there's, you know... It's those tabaxi that this person has a bit of a grudge against. Especially because the tabaxi are the ones starting to besiege the city. Interaction with others, our prompt is 5. He or she is curious. Always asking questions, and you know what? That really plays into the high intelligence that we rolled. Now, there's a phrase that we use often on this channel. And if any of you know it, you're welcome to type it out in chat. I wonder if somehow I could make an emote out of that. But there's a phrase that we use quite often on this channel, because all of this happens, the connections are there, and it's so empowering, and it opens your eyes when you see them. Just there they are. Now again, useful knowledge, that's for us to place with the NPC. It can be a random dice roll. I'm sure you could find things to help flesh that out. But this is more of wiggle room, especially if you need help connecting some elements that you rolled and you're not quite sure how to do that. Yep, it writes itself, Black Wolf. The stories, the characters, it all writes itself. Now, this non-player character's ideal, we rolled a 6 and a 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is other ideals. So we go to, I'd say quadrant 6, but that's like having 3/4 in a game. So we have other ideals, and in this list we have 1, which is aspiration. What does this NPC aspire to do? And many of these roles also challenge us to think as DM instead of just give us the answers. It will place a fixed point for us to now mold reality around. And it makes it so much easier to do. What is the phrase? Does it have anything to do with asking questions? The phrase, Tamarick, is it writes itself. This character shares a bond in the world with a person, a place, or a thing, otherwise known as a noun, and nouns can be concrete or abstract. What kind of a bond does this NPC have? We rolled 7. Protective of a sentimental keepsake. What is the keepsake? It doesn't tell us. yet we know it exists, and it gives us an opportunity to now link this character with other party members or with the world we're trying to present. Something that we could consider. One of our party members is a wizard. Now, we rolled a chaotic evil Yuan-Ti Pureblood. Hey, 12 for 10, welcome. That said, in a monstrous society, what is a chaotic evil citizen? If your society's ideals of good involve law and ritual and structure, which by Volo's Guide to Monsters, Yuan-Ti Society as presented does, you're certainly chaotic. As for evil, you sacrifice for the benefit of others. You infiltrate to spread the society because it's an imperative. Maybe there's not a lot of Yuan-Ti. They're rare. Everyone has to work together. And so here, we have a chaotic evil character. And this is why I wanted to do a monstrous party, because I want to challenge those ideals. A chaotic evil Yuan-Ti Pureblood in a society that considers the sacrifice of other people as good, and other methods, you know, poisoning people or turning them into, you know, whether by the book or through something you homebrew. Maybe Yuan-Ti only exist almost as tieflings, where it's like a blood curse. And if you don't spread your poison to others, you're not reproducing. You're not making more Yuan-Ti, and the society will collapse if people aren't out there creating other Yuan-Ti. In this case, we have someone who's being selfish because he doesn't want to bite and infect other people. Or disease or poison, whatever you want to look at it as. Maybe this character pulled his fangs. This character is whimsical, right? Chaotic, impulsive. It does enjoy pain, and maybe by this he feels pain, and he inflicts himself as a reminder not to inflict it on others. There's a lot of ways that we can work this in. And in this case, if we have a quest giver who wants to teach someone in the party, someone who fled from his society, what if that keepsake ends up being a book of wizard spells? It could even be higher level ones, you know, that are meant to... when we get to the story planning, like, the character's not meant to understand them till later, and then it'll come in handy. But before they leave as a quest giver, he or she gives this character this sentimental keepsake. And you know what? For everything we just said, it could also be something completely different that's convenient to you as the storyteller. And I say that like I'm undermining the storyline. Your players don't know what you're presenting as a story. And here we have some wiggle room. We have a black box represented by this item that you can use as a MacGuffin, as an official term. Think like the One Ring in The Hobbit or in Lord of the Rings. That's a MacGuffin. You know, we have something that facilitates, you know, input and output in a mysterious fashion, but it exists for this transfer. And lastly-ish, as all characters do, player characters or non-player characters, and villains, we have a flaw or a secret. And the one we rolled for this character is number 10, a secret crime or misdeed. What if it's found out that this NPC, as the quest giver, ended up causing the disruption, or was a part of it, that now has these two city-states warring with each other? Well, maybe not warring. We said besieged. That could be economic embargoes. That could be skirmishes. That could, that could take place in a lot of different ways. And so, in order to stay behind, this person is trying to resolve it before anyone figures out it was him or her. And this could end up being why, as Orc had pointed out earlier, we have a red herring of sorts. Now, in this case, the red herring is guilty, but no one knows that, and they want to try and fix the situation so that if anyone ever does blame this NPC, then that person, instead of being the guilty party, will be the red herring because the situation resolved itself. Now, nothing up here is saying evil. Nothing up here is saying, you know, one thing or the other. Tamrick, you're watching a Beatles short documentary video this morning. They had a similar phrase, something will happen. And oh, 12 for 10, I think I said hello to you, but if I didn't, hello to you. Clearly the hamster is named Hamtaro, says Black Wolf. Now, to make an NPC, this is the core. We have a character. Whatever skin you want to apply to make this a Yuan-Ti, to make this an Orc, to make this a Tabaxi, to make this a Hobgoblin, that doesn't matter because we know the motivations. We know the heart of the character. This could be a dwarf. The only dwarf to exist. The only elf, perhaps. You know, as long-lived as they are. We have an elder elf that actually was a young boy or girl when the first expedition came by and was a survivor and has been disguising him or herself this whole time and is now kind of on a deathbed and, you know, wants to see this resolution because of an oopsie. To either to reveal the truth or to hide it. You know, 700 years later, we now actually have an elf who is has disguised through magic or other means for so long. You know, is now willing to kind of give up the goods before that final sunrise or sunset, depending on the the culture or whatever. But we still have all of this as consistent no matter the skin that you put the character in. Now, if you do want to go through, and manufacture some of these other details, I'll show you how to do it. And this could be optional. This doesn't necessarily change what we've generated above, but if you love details, but you still want to go through the exercise, here we go. If you remember how we create random player characters, there's a couple dice rolls we use. So we figure out the alignment. 68 was chaotic neutral. Percentile, we have female was 1 to 45, male was 46 to 90, and a multi-class character was 91 to 100. Now, if we don't want to randomly roll a multi-class, then we'll just put it 1 to 50, 51 to 100. 36. Chaotic neutral female, so this does support the matriarchy. Now we're going to generate a 13-sided die because there are 13 races in Volo's Guide to Monsters. We rolled number 11. Oh, that doesn't need to be a different tab. Go back up there. Number 11 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A chaotic neutral female tabaxi. Or again, do you want the secret, right? A secret crime or misdeed? What if this person, even as a child, what if they're the one who actually saw the pilgrim, the fort, the frontier place collapse because they were supposed to be on watch and they fell asleep, or they made an effort with some of the local wildlife or sentient beings that ended up infiltrating and having them killed off and the place looted, and they lived amongst the others. So we can have a tabaxi because tabaxi actually live in this area and are from the other city. You see all the connections that we can have? And also, simply by adding tabaxi, we know as the dungeon master that it's not a tabaxi, but by all appearances, we have an elder matronly tabaxi. So it's up to you. I'm just going to leave tabaxi. From here, we roll a d12. And, oh, actually, you know what? Something that I should just open up. Because I'll just show it off here. But why not have the... Why not just have the randomizer up? Part of that is because I scrunched down the... part of that is I scrunched down the this set of tabs here. Ah, no. Not what I wanted. There we go. Oh, was I incorrect? Did I just miss it from chaotic neutral to lawful evil? If we go with balanced odds, which, whatever, the Morg's distribution tends to favor more good and neutral characters. The penchant for evil is the kind of the opposite, and balanced is pretty much, you know, 100% distributed amongst the 9. Going back to this... We had the 68. Yeah, 68 is lawful evil instead. I'll roll with it. I'll roll with that. So we actually have a lawful evil. Someone who was hiding a secret, was acting a little selfish. Now wants to seek redemption. Lawful evil female tabaxi.
To the community pool, even though it's my birthday. Also, have a wonderful day.
Oh my goodness, Shukan. Happy birthday to you, and to the community pool. So now Shukan has actually floated $2 from before, and is now putting $18 into the community pool. So we now have a $20 pool to pull some boxes, which means we might be able to have a raffle, a little mini raffle, even if for only one box. Yeah, everyone, please give some emote love from this channel or others or all of them to Shukan for a wonderful birthday. Shukan, did you do anything special? Do you have any traditions? Do you always have a chocolate cake, or do you go out for dinner at a Japanese steakhouse or something? But because of that, and I need to replace the flump count with community pool, I can do that here just in a little bit. Because of the generosity, Shukan has put a box of minis, a regular one, and we're $2 shy of being able to put in a large one, a Monster Menagerie 3, to have an impromptu raffle. Oh, it just started because it's midnight. You usually get Chinese food. Ooh, what dish do you prefer? Or do you just go out to a Chinese buffet and get a wide selection? There wasn't a formula. It was me just balancing out it in a world where more people would do good than bad. I spread it out, especially amongst favoring certain bands over others. It was more of a gut reaction based on my thoughts of what the alignments would generally mean in a goodish world, or a non-evil world, where evil is the minority. Because you can see here, lawful evil has any evil has a 20% chance of being rolled. So in this world, 1 in 5 people are selfish. Bourbon, honey and orange, or Szechuan, black pepper and Gentao, or General So. Lawful, Judge Dredd isn't doing it to be selfish. Because Judge Dredd is acting on behalf of this remote body that other people do revere. I would put Judge Dredd probably at a lawful neutral in a stereotypical environment. You can argue Judge Dredd, who actually cares about people, is lawful good and follows the letter of the law and is a paragon of virtue in this dystopia. Because remember, Shukan, lawful good does not mean lawful nice. That's what, yeah, because the word selfish is a way that you can replace the concept of evil. Now, as for the level of the NPC, I'm not going to worry about rolling that. Are we going to give them any feats? I'm not worried about that. But what we can do, to go with the exercise that we had before, if we only wanted Player's Handbook, backgrounds, then we would roll a 13-sided die and check that. But you know what we can do? We're going to roll a 66-sided die to find out the background of this character. And we rolled 10. Number 10 is City Watch, an investigator. We can leave it at that if we don't want to assign a formal class and subclass to the character. Because this right here can still, you know, adding a class still can, but this, nothing about this crosses what we've generated for the character so far. Now, if we do want to add a class and a subclass, then we could come down here and roll the d12. We rolled a we have a wizard. Everyone, it writes itself. This was meant to be. Now, this would be super uncanny if this turns into an abjuration wizard, which is what this Yuan-Ti character rolled. In that case, I am going to roll a 10-sided die, and we're going to find out what kind of wizard this character is. We rolled a 9. 9 transmutation, and so we have, if we want to go with that story, that we have an ancient elf survivor who was brought over as a baby and ended up, you know, kind of growing up in the frontier, and then as a child, all this, or we don't have to, but as someone who wants to disguise themselves and polymorph themselves, to change themselves, we have a transmuter. And you know what a good connection is also? To a player character we rolled? If we come back over to Cabo, our kobold, who made a pact with a great old one, who we were thinking maybe is a dragon, and of course, who's to keep a great ancient transmuter from turning into a dragon and offering a portion of their power to someone who studied under him? But look, the monstrous origin that we rolled for this player character last week, you're the victim of a curse or a polymorph spell. Now, victim could be an inconvenience, or this could be hiding something. And what if we have this beneficent NPC of the village who used her magic to help change the appearance in some way? Maybe because her parents were hunted, or something happened, or there was some sort of, a deformity that plagued this person. And so instead of that, this person used their transmutation subtly. Over 700 years, we have this sort of manipulator, this patient wizard, who's tried to make amends for what she's done, but she's been very controlling. That would be the lawful, or the evil part of things. You know, she's structured. She's in it for the long game. That's the lawful part. She's trying to, you know, get things in her direction to finally bring things into a good state of being before she dies. We have now made an awesome connection. Come back here to NPCs. Wizard. Transmutation. Ta-da. And if we want to roll height and weight, I'm not worried so much about that. But hopefully this was a good lesson in seeing just what you can do. We went into this NPC knowing nothing. We even randomly rolled, like, we knew we wanted a quest giver, but the quest giver could have been anyone. In fact, one of the options is the quest giver secretly the villain. Oh, sheeps, it writes itself. Possibly Shukan. That might be more neutral evil, as that's, you know, I'm technically not, you know, in the wrong. You know, there's gray areas, some overlap here, because instead of having nice firm boundaries, this should actually be 9 circles that all are sort of a Venn diagram that slightly overlap each other in different ways. Maybe not extremely, but you can share traits. If you're lawful evil, you share some traits with lawful neutral, true neutral, or neutral evil. You know, if you're lawful evil, technically this would wrap back around, you know, and this could even wrap downwards too. So we almost have a spherical Venn diagram instead. I don't want to make things sound too complex or like, oh, well, if I don't choose the exact right alignment. These are guidelines for the expression of a character's personality. And if you use it as a guideline, you can't go wrong. It's your character. I'll go with the generic answer, a lawyer's lawful evil. Not necessarily. There are many lawyers who will do work pro bono, in other words, for free, because they believe in a passionate cause or a person. And so it's a completely selfless act. And lawyers, while they deal with the law, many lawyers could be considered to be impulsive. People who think outside the box, they look for connections that other people wouldn't have made, whether you're on the prosecution or defense. And because you're able to adapt and be flexible, you can find the gaps in the law, or you understand the rigid methodology of how the law works, and you can dance and dart and make connections where others wouldn't, who are a part of that system. Something like that, but yeah, but bent into a circle. Because a lawful evil character can share traits with a lawful good character. So this lawful evil circle would bend up and around to lawful good. And lawful evil could share some characteristics with chaotic evil. And so we would bend around this way to chaotic evil. Now hang on. Trust-a-Flump, what is the alignment of Philip Q. Janglebones? Esquire. This is a character in D&D time, so unless I have it gravely mistaken, Philip Q. Janglebones is a barrister in the lands of D&D time. I got Trust-a-Flump at his own game, quite literally, in D&D time, his own game. Oh, So Tamrick is taking cenographic courtroom notes. Is anyone making a courtroom sketch? All right, so anyway, so you can see that we, so we have this NPC that's the quest giver, and we have her. I mean, this is a good fungible area that we can fill in for useful knowledge. You know, occupation and history, I left this blank because you can find a lot of that out if you go and add these extra details. So now, what I want to do is I want to show you how quickly we can do this same thing again, but without all the yammering that I've been going through. So here is our NPC. Now, this doesn't have to be a quest giver, so honestly, we're just going to go right back to the top. All right, here's our prompts. I don't know the name of the character just yet. That's fine. Occupation and history we'll fill in. Our adventure, this doesn't have to be an adventure patron per se. If we want to give us some other kind of a title, there's other prompts that we can include above, like a side quest giver, or this could be someone. There is something else. There's someone who can travel with the party as an NPC, not necessarily like an escort mission, but they call this a An adventure ally. You know, if we want to do that. Though, what I want to do while we're exploring how quickly we can come across this, our first character was completely a blank. We had no idea. We had no idea who this character was or, you know, anything about her. It was all raw data. Though, if you take a look as a dungeon master at the character sheets of your players, you can draw, especially from bonds, but in other places too, you can draw a lot of information about other NPCs that exist in the world. For example, Gobbo, or Gobmox here, has a sibling that is also, that works in a laboratory. I'm in regular communication with an instructor who set me on the course of my life and research. A former attendant from the same laboratory ran off to join another guild. We have a connection with this dragon. We have 3, 4. We could get even more out of here. NPCs, let alone from that character map that we made last week. There are so many NPCs that we can draw from. And so to reduce it, because normally we did these exercises, but with the important respect of addressing what was brought up regarding Pouty Lips' game group, I felt that it was very appropriate for us to stop and talk about circumstances and what happens like that when you face a loss in your gaming community. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a 5-sided die. We're going to pick a player, because you'll find that character sheets, especially because of backgrounds, please don't use them for just for mechanics, will provide you as a dungeon master with a wealth of information for you. Your players are doing. We're going with Gobmox. All right, so Gobmox. I think we said we have 4 NPCs. We rolled number 4, so let's go back to Gobmox. So we have sibling, rival, this non-guild contact, and then so we have we receive draconic insight that sent you on your path, and occasionally receive visions that guide you. So in this case, we have this dragon as an NPC, even if it never manifests, or I guess in its own way, this would be an alternate identity for the transmuting elf that we just came up with, but it's a whole other personality. So we're going to come in with a preconceived notion. Our occupation and history is a gold dragon that offers pacts and its blood for research, especially from someone who wants to improve the town and empower people and make them better. Of course, it's magical blood. Could be draconic blood. Maybe the 700-year-old transmuters probably picked up a trick or two. And so now we know a lot more about this NPC. There's an intrinsic link with actually not just Gobmox, but Cabo, who is a kobold who worships dragons. Absolutely is in love, and we made a connection on the character map. So right off the bat, we have 2 of the 5 characters that have a hook in here. And we know more about this character than we did at the outset for our first NPC. Now with that preconceived notion, let's randomly roll. Instead of just letting things go, kind of in a shotgun blast, we're going to cultivate to have every one of the options support the initial idea that we wanted in the NPC. So we're demonstrating both ways you can create NPCs. To do that, we're going to come down to creating NPCs. We're going to roll a 20 for appearance. Whoops, I'm going to reduce this back down. A 20 for appearance, then 2d6, 2d20, a d12, 2d6, a 10, and a 12. Now, let's see what I ended up rolling, and we're going to apply that here. I drug this off screen, and I'm just going to fill in as we come down here. So the appearance, we're going to scroll down, was the 1d20. This was number 11. Our 2d6 was 2 and 1. Our talent was 18, and our mannerism is 5. Our interaction with others, 18.5. Did I skip something? That should have been a D12. Did I get ahead of myself? And here I am, I'm completely flubbing stuff. So 2d20 was talent and mannerism. And then a D12 was for interaction traits. I missed a D12 on that. Alright, I'll skip that and come back real quick because our ideal, we rolled on the 2d6. Oh, no, there we go. I scrolled the wrong way. Our D12 was an 8. Our ideal was a 5 and a 3. Our D10 was a 9, and our D12 was an 8. Now let's go back and quickly fill this in, and we're going to imagine this character manifesting in front of us here. Our NPC appearance. There's a birthmark. The birthmark could be, what? A patch of scales? A patch of skin? The birthmark, could be... so we have, if we want to link the dragon with the elf, and we do not have to. Again, this is our story. What's convenient for us? What would be a birthmark on a gold dragon that's been around for a very long time? And tries to be beneficent, but ends up having some selfish desires. Maybe because it's the only one, and it wants friends so badly it manipulates them. So think about that. We already have the gold dragon loaded in our brain. I want you to put a birthmark on this gold dragon. Abilities. The high ability is 2, which is Dex. Our low ability is 1, which is Strength. What does this mean for the build, right? High Dex, lithe, agile, graceful. Low Strength, feeble or scrawny. A 700-year-old gold dragon, and we might think, oh, it's 50 feet long. For some reason, this dragon maybe never got larger than the size of a horse. That could be because it's an elf that's transmuted, or it could just be this gold dragon was the runt of the litter, or the birthmark has something to do with that. So we have a very wiggly dragon, but we have a low strength dragon. This character's talent is number 18. A skilled actor and master of disguise. Would someone like to do the honors? Mannerism, number 5. Enunciates overly clearly. Enunciation. Sometimes you have to. If you have a snoot, you speak, you say your words differently. Plus, if you're a smarty pants, then you gotta show that off. Interactions with others. How does this dragon or dragon interact? Number 8, hot-tempered. I'm trying to help you here. So you can have a good character that's hot-tempered. Why won't you listen to me? Have you existed for 200 years? Breathes fire because it's a gold dragon and they breathe fire. Hot-tempered. This character's ideal is 5-3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A neutral ideal that is number 3 down. Live and let live. This character's bond is number 9. Out for revenge. Ooh. Again, this could be the elf. It could not, or the two could exist but not be aware of each other, because we have an ancient magic practitioner who, in this case, might have almost created this other body that are the same person, but they're different. One could be a clone of the other, or something along those lines. Again, it doesn't have to connect, or if you can connect it however you want. But this character's out for revenge. And in this case, if we have a setting that is rife, right? We have these two city-states getting ready to war. What happened? Out for revenge. Someone has undone the peace that this dragon has tried to establish here in the desert with this river that is the lifeblood of this place. And someone is messing that up. And this dragon's gonna get that someone. And what is the flaw or secret of this dragon? Number 8. Has a specific phobia. That's a broad prompt. What would a character like this have as a phobia? Now, there are so many phobias that are out there. You know, against aspects of nature, or imaginary things, phobias against certain conditions, or people, or faiths, or, I mean, you could have a phobia is an irrational fear, and we can be irrational about anything that exists. Sorry, I missed a little bit in chat here as we're kind of we're speed running an NPC creation to show you how you can do it and still have a preconceived notion and have all of these results still feed into it, even if you didn't want to put a shotgun pattern of dice rolls out there and then connect the dots into a beautiful constellation of an NPC. Someone's sketching Trust a Flump and he's sweating on the stand. What's the longest you've spent on a character, and what's the least amount of time you've spent on a character? That's difficult to say. You just mean character creation, or you mean playing or running? Yeah, for things like one-shots, Trust a Flump, yeah, you could pound out characters in no time. Skimming, catching up in chat. The phrase, by the way, earlier for things like skilled actor and master of disguise was "it writes itself." Auraphobia, so a fear of gold, even though it's a golden dragon. Shukan. Fear of drowning, says Black Wolf. Fear of gold, says confirms Shukan. Hydrophobia, like from rabies. Hey, GM Vault. A dragon, a gold dragon that's that has an irrational fear of gold. In that case, so what could have been the prompt? What was there a bad experience with gold earlier in that person's life? All right. Anyway, everyone, I got to get up and take a quick little break here. I'm not going to take the full 10 minutes. Because I don't need it. I still have half a pitcher of my cherry limeade here. I need to get up and stretch, and just I'll wipe my brow, and I'll come back in just a couple minutes here, maybe with some chips and some very good fresh salsa. Not the kind that is like, it's sealed, but it's not like you can keep it at room temperature. It has to be refrigerated. It was probably made like a day ago, honestly, maybe 2 days. Some nice fresh salsa, some chips. And what we'll do, if any of you want to get miniatures, this would be a good time to do so. And after we talk about minis or we discuss NPCs, let's take this idea and come up with a villain or two. And after that, we can look at inserting the player characters, the NPCs, and the villains into this adventure, this monstrous adventure about two city-states at war, a cry for help, and apparently, if these NPCs have anything to say about it, a story of revenge and ancestry, hidden secrets in the founding of these two city-states that were glorious but are now at each other's throats. Would you want to deal with a rabid dragon? All right, I will be right back, everyone, and we'll go from there with chat, minis, anything else. including we have a community pool. We have $20 in a community pool thanks to Shukan, and it's Shukan's birthday. So thank you to that, and we might even be able to pull a mini box. If someone wants to throw $2 into the pot, it could be then a choice of either a Monster Menagerie 3 or any of the boxes I have in stock.